to the Feed You podcast, giving you the real scoop on raising your business to new heights. Expert education, inspiration, and motivation to fuel your purpose, your passion, and your profits. Here's your host, Elisa Connor.
Hello. Welcome to the Feed You podcast. I'm Elisa Connor. I'm your host, and I am so grateful you're here. It is a wonderful week in the summer of 2020. And as we are finding, there is a lot of change in the world, both personal world and also the world at large, which led me to the topic that I'm going to talk about today, and that is boundaries. And I don't know about you guys, but with change comes the inevitable awareness of whether or not you are keeping your boundaries, or if people are pushing you past your boundaries, or if you are not upholding your boundaries. And so that has been my lesson. Oh boy, has really been the lesson that has been coming up for me in the last, 3 or 4 weeks, both in business and in personal situations. So it's just been really interesting, and I thought it would be very helpful for you all in your business, as also business and personal life overlap to some degree in all situations. So establishing healthy boundaries, I think, is a great way to be successful in both arenas. And that can come from establishing effective boundaries with colleagues, with clients, with your children, perhaps your spouse, your significant others, family members, and just, holding your own. So I wanted to give you some of the lessons that I learned and some of the tips that I learned along the way, in hopes that they help you establish boundaries in your life so that you can thrive and really grow not only as a person, but grow your business and, master all of your dreams and the things that you're really wanting to achieve, not only this year, but just overall. So let's jump right into it. The biggie for me that, it seems so simple when I'm going through these lessons as I was writing them down. I'm like, but they're so hard to get sometimes. But one of the biggies is when you are not holding up your boundaries, it's really easy, or it's a giant flashlight. It's not easy. It's a giant flashlight of realization about what you do want and what you don't want. And if you're not upholding your boundaries, the things that you don't want are going to show up more. And I wish that there was an easier way to learn this, but there really isn't. So let's take example for example, a client. So if there's a certain type of client that you don't like to work with because they're really, I have some people that have come into my business in the past that they required a lot of extra work. They were a little bit high maintenance, and sometimes you don't know better. And then you get a client that you just love, and you love everything about them, and you love working with them, and you are really passionate about what they're doing, and they're just genuinely amazing people. And then you have that contrast, and you're like, oh, I want all of my clients to be like this person, because it's so much easier to do what I do and to give them my expertise and to really be a shining light in their world, versus somebody that you're have to pull them along I was thinking of a pack mule trying to pull one of those giant sleds of from the movies where they had these giant sleds of hay or whatever on this giant, and you're trying to pull it along, and you're like, oh, it's so hard. And you don't want that. And so when you're effectively holding your boundaries, that definitely means you have to know what you're going to say yes to and what you're going to say no to. And that's the only way you can do that, is by realizing the things that you really do want more of in your life, and the things that you don't want more of in your life. And so for me, another one that came up with boundaries is I decided this quite some time ago, and then I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit during coronavirus, and then I got right back on the wagon because I realized what it meant to my sanity, but that is, I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the news. I don't watch the news. I have and I'm sure I've mentioned this a couple times before, but I have a couple of resources that I get on a weekly basis that give me the summation every day of the things that I have to know. And even those I will skim. Literally, I'm just like, oh, it's too much. I can't deal. But enough to like keep me informed, but not overwhelm me. I am so exhausted by the sensationalism of our media and the corruption that it creates among people and the division it creates among people that I can't hack it. And so that's a boundary I put up, and I'm like, if you want to watch the news, you go for it, but I don't want to talk about it. And a perfect example of this is my mom. I love her, but she's totally addicted to the news. Like, I'll call her every day. I usually call her a couple times a day, but in the morning, and if she's watching the news and she starts like, I don't want to say mimicking, but she'll like just she's like a commentator on everything that's going on. I'm like, I don't want to know this. And if you want to talk about this, then I'm going to hang up and you can call someone else to talk about it with, because I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear what they're talking about. I don't care. I really don't. It's not that I don't care what's going on in the world. I just don't want to hear the overblown perception of what is going on, because it's not based in reality. It's based on what will sell and what will keep people hooked. And so when I say I fell off the wagon with coronavirus, I totally bought into the like, oh, I got to go and see what the reports are. And like, what are you doing? This is like eating up so much of your energy. It's ridiculous. So then I just had to put the kibosh on that. And it doesn't mean that I'm not aware. Like, I know what's happening in the world for the most part, but I am not tuned into like every news story and every detail, and I won't buy into it. It's a time suck and it's an energy suck, and I have much bigger things to accomplish, as do you. So take that with a grain of salt. If you love watching the news, more power to you, but I would definitely take a look at what impact it's having on your business and your life. And are you okay with that? That leads us to the point number one. Are you okay with having that in there? Is that something you want more of? Or would you rather have something else? Because it's a trade-off. You can't have more of one thing without having less of another. And we'll get to that in a minute. The other benefit of figuring out your boundaries and determining what it is you do and don't want and what you will accept and what you won't accept is that it helps you to reestablish and reconnect to the goals you have. Because if I have goals of, say, creating $1 million company in the next 3 to 5 years, then I have things that I need to accomplish in order to make that happen. If I am completely distracted by watching the news every day, or getting on Facebook and getting my news, or getting on YouTube and watching whatever kind of videos that aren't, leading me to my goals, those are all choices that I've made, but they are deterring me and distracting me from getting to where I want to be. And so it's easy to lose sight of where you want to go and what you want to happen when you're distracted and something else has your attention. And so when you have to put up those boundaries, and this can be for relationships too, like I've had several people in my life that I've had to say, I love you, but I'm going to love you from afar, because they are toxic to my world, to the way I believe, to what I want to attract into my life. And it's not that they are toxic per se, it's that their decisions, their choices, and their behavior are toxic. And I don't want to pick that energy up, because as I've talked to you all before, energy is what we're made of. It's what makes the universe go round. And when we allow other people's energy to come into our sphere, for lack of a better term, that can either empower or disrupt us. And so I don't have very many of these people in my life anymore, because I've kind of weeded them out. I always look at it's like a garden. It's not that they have to go away. They just have to be planted somewhere else. And so I have a few of those people that they'll show up just out of the blue, and we haven't talked for a long time, and then I realize, oh, there's a reason we haven't talked for a long time. and it really comes down to, like, you outgrow people, or they're in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And some of those people that are only there for a reason will show back up, and you're like, I don't know. When you have goals that are firmly in your mind, and it's easier to set those boundaries and be like, no, you're not in alignment with where I'm going or what I want to accomplish and the things that I want to do while I have limited time on this planet. So I wish you well. Be blessed, off you go. And it's easier to just sort of let them go in a very kind and compassionate way. And then there's other times that you have people that stick around that are just like, oh, why are they here? And I really believe that there are people that show up in your life because they have lessons to teach you, and most often that you have lessons to teach each other. And so they'll keep showing up, whether it's them or somebody that's just like them, until you embrace and get what it is you're supposed to be getting. And usually it's something about yourself. So that's another great way for you to reestablish and reconnect to where you want to go to, because if you're distracted by what's happening over here, you better get that mess cleaned up so that you can move forward and become the person that you want to become and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. Because if not, you'll just keep repeating the pattern and you'll never move forward. And so boy, has that been a good one for me. I've had that lesson come up many, many times. I am not typically a person that holds on to the mass of people. I made up a word this morning, acquaintancing. I'm not good at acquaintancing, which means I can have acquaintances, but I don't run out and try to gather up a whole bunch of acquaintances. It's not important to me. I would rather have a few people that I'm really close to, that I connect with, and that are authentic and that really want to have deeper, meaningful conversation. And I am blessed by the best group of people around me. They're supportive. They're just amazing human beings. And I every time I think about the people that are around me, that are in my life, I just really have amazing friends. And that's on purpose. And not to overstep, I don't want to say that I am just like them, but like attracts like, and I really try hard to show up for them in an amazing way as well. So if you have kind of a shiitake level of people in your life, you need to take a good look in the mirror and say, okay, why? What do I need to shift about myself? Who do I need to become in order to attract the people that I really want into my life? And there are some people that will show up, or that have been in my life, for example, that I really want them to be something other than what they are, and I can see the potential in them, but they don't see it, and they don't want to take the action or initiative to do that. And that leads me to another item down the list, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, because if I go out of order, then I'll forget which ones I've done. So anyway, reestablish and reconnect to your goals by putting your boundaries in place. So number 3 is, this is one of my mentor's sayings, and it is my absolute favorite saying. I say it all the time. But if you say no to something, you are saying yes to something else. And if you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. And so when you're making those decisions about what you're going to say yes to, it's really important to stop for a minute and say, okay, if I say yes to this client, this job, this project, this household chore, this ice cream, whatever choices you make, you're saying no to something else. So if you're saying, yes, I'm going to have ice cream, then you're saying, no, I'm not going to sit on the couch after dinner. I'm going to go for a walk because I need to burn off that ice cream. If you're saying yes to a client, then you're saying no to, for example, if I say yes to a client, I'm saying I'm putting another project that I have, like, for example, the launch of my course, on the back burner. And at some point, things will be unbalanced if you do not rectify that situation and really put on the forefront the things that you really want to happen and come to fruition in your life. And so I had a couple of examples, because I have a house with basically 3 teenagers in it. And let's just face it, teenagers are slobs. And I don't understand how they don't see that there's dishes in the sink, that the floor is filthy, that bathrooms have things growing in them. Like, I just don't understand. And so I said, I spend a lot of energy on this. I spend a lot of energy like yelling at people to clean the house or cleaning it myself or just like wrapped up in angst because it's dirty and I don't like it. And I said, you know what? I have had enough. And so I said yes to a cleaning lady. And that is like a huge thing for me because I'm kind of like, I was raised by the cleaning police. We always joke that my grandma's floor, you could totally eat off of my grandma's floor. And you probably could eat off of my mom's floor. You would never want to eat off of my floor, ever. And so it's kind of like ironing. Like my grandma used to iron everything, including her underwear. And my mom still irons like her sheets. I literally don't iron anything unless I'm making a sewing project. Like I don't iron at all. There's no ironing that happens here. And so I say it just kind of like gradually got less and less important as the generations went. And so hiring a cleaning lady coming from the cleaning police is a pretty big deal. And I've had a cleaning lady a couple of times in the past, but this time I'm like, nope, this is like a permanent gig. Like I am not cleaning anymore. I'm not yelling at people about cleaning. I am not telling people that things need to be cleaned. I'm not doing it. And so line in the ground or line in the sand, stake in the ground. I was like, we're doing that. And there's, some other projects around the house that needed to be done. One of them was like trimming trees, and I was like, you can hem and haw about the price of this. I don't know if you know about trimming trees, but I don't. Like, we don't have that many trees. We have a pretty small yard, but we have trees that, our house is now, I don't know, it's over 20 years old. And so we have like trees that were like these little stubs when we moved in, and now they're huge, and they need to be trimmed. Well, I had no idea that tree trimming is ultra expensive, just so you know, like heads up if you didn't know about tree trimming. But I said, you know what? I don't care, because I'm sick of like, there's dead branches that fly all over the yard. It's hitting the house, ruining the paint. We have a lot of wind where I live, so there's like always stuff blowing, and then there's like tree branches from the neighbor, and the squirrels are on the roof, and I'm like, it's just a lot. And I was like, you know what? I don't care how much it is. We are getting the trees trimmed. And so, those are the decisions I made. So saying yes to those means I have like less to think about, less to worry about. Long term, there's like less angst and worry about, what my house is going to look like if people pop over. It's going to be, somewhat clean. It might need to be tidied up because we have a lot of shoes around here, with all the people that live here. But the reality is saying yes to all of those things, has enabled me to say yes to some things that I want to do, like spend more time doing more yoga, or going, being out in nature, riding my bike, or being more creative. By saying, no, I'm not going to do those things anymore, I'm giving them to someone else. I'm also giving them the opportunity to say yes to make a positive change in their life. And so you never know what you saying, making a decision about, you don't know how that decision is going to impact someone else until it's been made. And so, by hiring a cleaning service, I am now employing at least 2 of their employees once a month. I'm bringing money into their families so that, maybe they have kids that want to do music lessons or dance lessons, or they have extra bills that they need to pay. Maybe they need to get a car. I don't know any of those things. I just know that the impact that I can make by saying yes to something, or no to something. In this case, it's kind of like yes to a cleaning lady. No, I'm not going to clean the house. So it's kind of a confusing when you're talking about it that way. But by me hiring them, it's enabling them to then say yes to something else instead of no. And so I love that saying. I'm going to say it one more time just so you can keep it in your mind. But when you say yes to anything, it means saying no to something else, and vice versa. So, number 4, this is a big one. You are responsible for you and only you. This is, I think when you're a mom, like, especially when you're a mom, it's really hard to not feel responsible for other people. And whether that's your kids or your older parents, or, a lot of times people will just pick up responsibility. And, I listened to, I can't even remember who said this. I think it was Darren Hardy. I've been listening to Darren Hardy for many years. And sometimes I tune in and I tune out. Sometimes he gets a little bit on my nerves, but a lot of times he has some pretty good quips in there. But, he told this story one time about how if you have somebody that will walk into the office or call you up on the phone and they'll start complaining about and I just they have this problem, and we'll use the example of I'm trying to come up with a quick example, but I can't figure out what kind of car to buy. There you go. And so, I keep driving all these different test models, and then I don't know which one to buy, and I just wish I had somebody to help me. And then all of a sudden, you hang up with them, and you're thinking about, well, they should totally get this kind of car, and they should, they have this kind of life, so they probably like this one. Then you're like, this isn't even my problem. Why am I picking this up? And he called it something like passing the monkey. And so the great way to handle that and not take responsibility for other people's stuff is to say just a really simple phrase. I'm sure you're going to figure it out. Because what it does to your brain is it says, hey, that's their junk. You don't need to pick it up. You can put it in their trunk and they can drive away. So yeah, just say it. You know what? I'm sure you're going to figure that out. The next time that somebody tries to dump their monkey in your lap, you know what? Put that junk back in their trunk just by saying, hey, I'm sure you're going to figure that out. Try it out. I would love for you to try it out. I have tried it. I never thought it was going to work. I'm like, that's way too easy. It totally works, especially if you say it out loud. There's something about verbalizing things, but it enables you to let go of responsibility of what other people do. But in turn, that also means you have to take responsibility for your own actions, words, and the things that you say you're going to do. So that's living in integrity. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And so being responsible for your actions, even though it's hard sometimes to be responsible for those actions, will propel your life more than anything else that I have ever taught you. 100% radical responsibility will transform your life. 100%. And I started to do that, and it's hard. It's not something you're just going to wake up one day and go, hey, I have 100% responsibility for all of my life. Because when you start thinking about even your thoughts and the thoughts that you have around things, it's much easier to go, oh, that's a society thing, or I'm like that because of, instead of no, I take responsibility for that thought. I take responsibility for that reaction. I take responsibility for my belief system, and all of those, it just goes down to the minute level. And it's something that it's like meditation. It's a practice. You have to practice it for the rest of your life, but you also have to be willing to take responsibility. And I've had somebody that has come back into my life recently that I am now directing onto a different fork in the road, because they don't want to take responsibility for their life. It's much easier for that person to remain a victim and to play the blame game. Oh, it's so-and-so's fault. It's your fault for making me feel bad. It's your fault. It's so-and-so's fault that I lost my job. And the reality is that you lost your job because you made decisions that, created consequences that led to your unemployment. And so what does that look like? Because there's a lot of people that have gotten laid out. I mean, that may not sit well with people. They're like, no, I lost my job because the company, blah, 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 blah. The company's, getting rid of positions. Well, you set yourself up in a position to be expendable through your choices, your actions, and the things that you chose to do or not do. And by setting yourself up in that situation, you're not taking responsibility for the fact that maybe you got complacent, you didn't show up on time, you weren't putting your 100% effort into the job. Whatever it is, there's a reason they chose to lay you off versus A, B, and C. And so when you take radical responsibility for that, you can then make the changes so that it's easier for you to bump yourself back up energetically to attract a new position. And so I don't know how to otherwise explain that because it's all energetic. If you focus on oh, I lost my job and it sucks, and now I'm probably going to lose my house, and then I'm going to lose my car, and I have a lemon, and blah, 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 all the things. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen, because your mind is super powerful, and it does not know the difference between a real thought, a conscious thought, and a subconscious thought. So if that's what you're thinking all the time, that's exactly what's going to happen. So I have a perfect example of this. My aunt bought a car, and she doesn't listen to this, so I can talk too, but she bought a car, and I love her, but she's kind of a little bit crazy. So she bought a car. She does not like change at all. Like, she is 1000% resistant to change. She bought a car. She had her other car for 16 years, and the other reason she bought a new one is because she was pretty sure that it was going to keel over any day now. And so she went to the dealership. My mom went with her, and she hemmed and she hawed, and anyway, she ended up getting an Escape, and it was like a 2019 brand new off the lot. It had like 7 miles on it, and she was pleased as punch with that car, and it was cute. She brought it over. She was excited about it, so I saw it, and I was showing her how to do some of the things, because a lot changes in 16 years with the car. Like, the things that, if you haven't bought a new car, there's now USB plugs that your phone can connect directly to your dashboard, and there's like all these little buttons, and there's not keys anymore, there's just fobs. Like, there's a lot of things. And so when you're older, that can be a little overwhelming. So she was pleased as punch, and then about a week later, my mom decided she's going to get a bee in her bonnet and go get a new car, because she had a giant Navigator, and she's like, oh, I'm too old to have a car this big. And I'm like, all right, whatever. If you couldn't catch my eye roll there. And so I'm like, you're getting a car because Wally's getting a car, my aunt. And so like, this is obvious to me. My mom's like, no, that's not it. So, sisters, they never change. So then my aunt, all of a sudden, she sees my mom's car, and of course she's jealous because it's a different car and it seems nicer and blah, 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 blah. And so, she goes to the mentality of my car is really great to, oh, hers is better. Well, now she's having all these car problems, and we are 1000% sure that it's user error. Like, we don't know it's user malfunction. Like, I don't know how to prove it, but I know it. And so she keeps saying things like, yeah, I probably got 11. I'm like, yep, if you keep saying that, you did. And she hates when I do that, but it's true. Like, what you focus on, you create. So if you're focusing on not having enough people say on your email list, then you're not going to get more people. Whereas if you focus on, hey, I've had growth of 30 people this week on my email list, that's awesome. Like, sweet, I am growing, I'm going strong. Because then you're focusing on the growth versus the stagnation. And so that comes from taking responsibility for your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And so when you're saying words, things that you subconsciously believe or consciously believe, you will manifest more of it. And you're not taking responsibility for your part in that, whether you're aware of it or not. And so part of your boundary lesson is to take responsibility for what your boundaries are, what you put out into the world, both consciously and unconsciously, and to only take responsibility for yourself. So that's number 4. Lots of responsibility there. Number 5, this is a good one, and I just read a quote that I'm going to pull up really quick because it's so relevant, but is to not try to fix other people. And the quote that I'm going to read you is actually from Julia Roberts, and it talks about men and women, but this could apply to any situation out there. So the quote is, women, you are not rehabilitation centers for badly raised men. It's not your job to fix him, change him, parent, or raise him. You want a partner, not a project. And that is so true whether you change women to business owners. You are not rehabilitation centers for badly raised clients. So it's not your job to fix them, change them, parent, or raise them. You want clients, not pains in the butt. So you could change that quote, and I'll stick that quote over in the show notes at elisaconnor.com/93. But what it is like, you're not going to fix people. As much as you want them to be who you can see them and visualize them being, they have to make the choices and the changes. And some people will never do that. They never will. They're perfectly happy in their little land of Eeyore. Like, I always think of Eeyore, like, poor me. Anyway, but the reality is that they have to raise their vibration, take responsibility for all of their circumstances, their decisions, their words, their thoughts, and they have to reconnect with what it is they really want and put effort towards it. And if they're not willing to do that, you're never going to fix them. They have to do all of that work before they ever have a chance to get to who you envision them being. So quit wasting your energy on it. Like, it's so exhausting to try and fix someone else when you could take that energy and that time and that frustration and put it into something that is fruitful for yourself. And that doesn't make you self-centered. That was a huge lesson for me to learn, is like, oh, I should help them. You're not helping them. You're trying to fix them. And if you're trying to fix them, you can't work on your own stuff. And that's why we're here. Like, we're here to learn our own lessons and to make progress and to impact the world. And when we let other stuff get in the way of that, we can't have any impact because we're too busy trying to clean up, like the little guy with a broom. I don't know if you guys remember that back from the 70s, the little guy that he'd be like at the end of the movies and he had a little broom and he's like pushing the dirt out at the end of the movie. That's what it's like when you're trying to clean up and fix people. And you don't have time for that. You're not a broom pusher. You got stuff to do. So, number 5, don't try to fix other people. You can't fix them. They probably don't want to be fixed. And the only person that can fix them is themselves. So if you want to fix somebody, go pull out the mirror, start there. Number 6, when boundary issues come up and you have to say no, and I'm the first to say, it is not easy to say no. Like, no it's a short word, but it is hard to say, especially in certain situations. And it gives you time when you are dealing with boundary issues to, like, take a breath and reflect, like, okay, if I say yes to this, I'm saying no to something else. What does that feel like? What does it mean? It gives you time to recharge, because if you don't take time to breathe and you don't take time to think and don't take time to be quiet, you're just going to end up frustrated and not know which direction you want to go. And it also gives you time to reevaluate where you are, where you've been, and where you want to go. And so those 3 items are, again, it gives you time to reflect, recharge, and reevaluate. And so when you're being faced by boundary issues and you don't know how to make a decision, or you fear that you've made a wrong decision, first you're going to feel it in your gut. And I have that, oh man, once you start listening to your gut, it's like a Mike Tyson when you take a wrong turn. But yeah, you'll feel it in your gut, and if it doesn't feel good and it doesn't make you energized and lift you up, then you need to take time and do the triple R: reflect, recharge, and reevaluate. Is this direction you want to go? Is this something that is recharging you? And is this really in alignment with where you want to go and who you want to be and what you want to accomplish? And so those 3 R's are so important in keeping, one, your happiness at a higher level, your joy and your fulfillment at high levels. But it also helps you show up as a influencer and a authority to other people. I don't know. I don't really love the word authority, but as someone who has been in their shoes, you can show up as someone that they look up to. A leader. I like that word better. You appear as a leader because you have made the decisions in alignment that are true to who you are and true to your authentic self and where you want to go. Versus, like, I feel like when we don't set our boundaries and stick to them, we're like a flag flapping in the wind. We could go this way, we could go that way, and then we just blend in with everybody else. And we don't want that. Especially as business owners, we don't want that. We want to be the go-to person. Well, you can't be a go-to person if you aren't already a go-to person, which means you have to stand in your boundaries. So some people will be more gentle and kind with allowing you to do that. Some people They're going to run you over like a Mack truck, man. That's all right, though. You can peel yourself off the pavement just like Pink Panther, and you'll be good to go. Or is it not? Maybe it's not Pink Panther. It's, it's the one with Wile E. Coyote. I can't think of the... You know which one I mean, with the coyote that always gets smashed. So, Looney Tunes. Anyway, I'm doing a lot of flashbacks. So if you guys are not from the 70s, you're not gonna get any of these references. But okay, so that's number 6. Number 7, the final one, and then I have some symptoms that I've laid out for you guys to maybe take a little checklist and go, ooh, do I have these? Then I might not be holding my boundaries. So, but number 7 first. You only get one shot today. And so I'm sure you've heard the quote, yesterday is past, the past is gone, the future isn't promised, and the only thing you have is today, and that's why they call it the present. It's something like that. But tomorrow's a different day. So anything that you decide or don't decide today, it's over. Like tomorrow starts over, so that can be a good or a bad thing, depending on the decision. But a good way to make decisions, especially around boundaries and around moving forward, is to ask yourself the question, if I say yes today, what will it mean tomorrow? What will it mean in a week? What will it mean in a year? What will it mean in 5 years? And if, for example, a really simple example of this is if I say yes to client A, what does it mean for me tomorrow? Oh, it could mean a paycheck. What does it mean for me in a week? Oh, it means I'm going to be doing all this work for him that I didn't really want to do to begin with, for money that I should have been paid more for. And what does that mean for you in a month? That means that I didn't get to take on 2 clients that I really wanted to work for because my client base my client time was already full with this guy because he's high maintenance and he takes twice as much time as somebody that I really like working with. And so now instead of taking up 1 hour, he takes up 2 hours every day. And so I don't have time to go prospect and get the clients that I really want to work with that would be easier, quicker, etc. And what does that mean for you in a year? It means your business isn't growing. You're at half of the capacity of what you could have been. And in 5 years, it could mean the difference between being in business and being out of business. So when you look at your decisions and your boundaries and whether or not you're staying true to yourself, if you put it through the question, if I say yes to this, what does it mean for me tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and 5 years from now? Your clarity comes so quickly that you don't have to ask the question even through all 5 of those. Because by 2 or 3, you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to do this. Because it will immediately align you with where you're going, what you want to accomplish, and the impact you want to make. And so if you say no, it works the same way. If you say no to this opportunity, what are you saying no to? Because there are yes people and there are no people. And if you are saying no to something, are you shutting yourself off from the opportunity? Are you shutting yourself off from the connections? Are you shutting yourself off from because of fear? You go down that path as well. And so if the yes way doesn't work for you, try the no way. And it's the same questions. If I say no to this, what does it mean for me tomorrow? What does it mean for me next week? What does it mean for me for next month? What does it mean for me next year? And what does it mean for me 5 years from now? So, for example, if I say no to hiring someone as an assistant, what does that mean for me tomorrow? Well, I got to work a few extra hours, no biggie. If I say no to hiring somebody a week from now, well, I'm now 3 or 4 days behind, so I got to work on the weekend, but that's all right. It's only for a short time. If I say no, what does it mean for a month from now? It means I am so overwhelmed. I'm pulling my hair out. I'm yelling at my kids. I can't get ahead of the projects because everything is just being piled on me and I don't have anybody to help me. And a year from now, it means I haven't got that course off the ground that I really wanted to do. I haven't got to do the TED Talk I wanted to do. I haven't got to get in front of the organizations that I really want to get to grow my business. And what does it mean for 5 years from now? So you get the idea of what this looks like. And it's really critical that you take that and put it into effect when you are having struggles with holding your boundaries. Because people, situations, projects, and life, for lack of a better term, will suck your energy dry. Which leads me into the final component of this episode. And that is like, what are some of the symptoms that you might be struggling with boundaries? If you wake up every day and you are exhausted, that is a pretty good indicator that you have some boundary issues. Does it mean, that you might not have some health issues as well? Possibly, but health issues are also boundary issues. So take a good look at like, how are you feeling? If you're emotionally exhausted or overwhelmed, that's another good example that your boundaries aren't being set and held. If you are feeling frustrated, cranky, or you're like my kids yesterday, like, why are you so angry? I'm like, oh, because I'm so sick of doing everything around here. And I was like, I really had to step back. Like, that was a great mirror. Like, why are you so angry? And if you're having, if you're frustrated and cranky and angry and you're just like, oh, I don't know what's wrong, it's probably because you're not holding a boundary. You're trying to do it all. And especially, it seems like moms and women in general try to do everything and like this great balancing act and not ask for help. And we're really not doing anyone any favors. And so the last symptoms I have is like, maybe you're feeling melancholy, like you're wishing for days gone by, or you're wanting, to have a little fantasy land on the beach with your beach house that doesn't exist. And you're just like feeling melancholy and unmotivated to move forward. So those are just a few symptoms that I jotted down if you're struggling with boundaries. And I'm going to just run through really quick the 7 tips, lessons, kind of things that I've learned about holding boundaries that I hope will help you. So number 1 was they're going to help you realize what you do and don't want. It's going to help you reestablish and reconnect to your goals. That's number 2. Number 3 is, this is my favorite, saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. So be sure that you want to say that yes. Number 4 is to take responsibility for you and only you. Number 5 is don't try to fix other people because you can't. Number 6 was take some time to reflect, recharge, and reevaluate where you are, where you want to be, and where you're going. And number 7 is to live every day as it's only there once, because it is. And to ask those questions, what will this mean tomorrow? What will this mean in a week, a month, a year, 5 years? I hope this is helpful for you. I hope that it will help you as you are navigating not only your business, but your life during these turbulent times, to make those decisions that propel you forward and bring you more joy. Until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay well, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. If you're struggling with what to say, who to say it to, and where to say it, you may need my new Ideal Client Worksheet. The Ideal Client Worksheet helps you discover the important questions that you need to ask when it comes to finding your clients. It will help you understand them, understand their problems, so that you connect with them, attract them, turn them into leads, and convert them into customers. So go grab your copy today at elisaconnor.com/ideal client.